Hi, everyone. Welcome. Today is February 24th, and we have our good friend Ness joining us today. Before we get started, Ness and I are going to be looking in at the rest of February and going into March. Um, but before we get into all of that, if you could all do me a favor, please hit that thumbs up. Please double check, make sure you're subscribed. Help with those YouTube algorithms and getting these videos out there. Appreciate all the help with that. Anyway, Ness, how are you doing, my friend? It's good to see you.
I yeah, I'm so happy you invited me back.
Yes.
I'm excited to talk about March's energies. And hi everyone, nice to see you all again. I'm also, I'm going to, Kevin, maybe introduce myself a little bit more this time around.
Sure.
I've decided to maybe do it every 3 months just for new folks that are not familiar with me. So hi everyone, I'm Ness. I am astrology is one thing I do in terms of my little toolkit. Before I was, practicing it here on this YouTube world, I had a regular 3D job where I was a design strategist for tech companies, basically working in the R&D of them, developing new products and services. And as you work in that futurism space and you keep pursuing like the future and trying to read the tea leaves through math and research, I eventually arrived here in terms of spirituality and
Yeah.
in terms of tarot. And so I'm very happy to be here, but I'm in a unique blend of I was in the 3D world for quite a bit, very analytical, and then now I'm kind of embracing it all in terms of understanding what this universe is and,
You
what
have
our intuition tells us and other
you have a
things.
good
Yeah.
balance with it. I think you're very creative and innovative, and I would say it's almost, in a sense, your intuition is um, like a clear intellect, where you just have all of these great ideas and use your intuition and intelligence together with it.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, I
Mm.
think I think a lot of people in regular 3D jobs use their intuition all the time, but they might not acknowledge it or they talk
Yeah.
themselves out. And so I'm now in a phase of my life where it has a full seat in my little
Hmm.
co-pilot in
It's
my
not always
trajectory
so
of life.
right-brained, I think, like a lot of people think. I mean, sure, for me, it's very much that imaginary creative center is how it comes through most strongly for me, but there's a lot of more left brain analytical people that can still connect with their intuition that way too. Channeling, getting great. I mean, look at a lot of the scientists and all of that,
Yes. Yes. I can't recall
right?
the book, but there's a book where it was a collection of exactly what you're saying, left brain people, and
Hmm.
they talked about using their intuition, or they sometimes were working late at night in the lab and all of a sudden they heard like,
Yeah.
use this
I think
formula over here.
think it's
So,
very innovative.
yeah, yeah, very, very cool. But I'm glad to be back, and we're going to talk about March's energies.
Yes.
And folks, we're going to do a little bit something different. Is we're actually going to share with y'all a list of topics of what we're going to cover. So we're trying something new and seeing if this helps you all as you listen to kind of anchor and gauge where we're going to go for the next like 45 minutes or an hour. We're going to check in a little bit about the weather because a lot has happened in the past 24, 48 hours.
Yeah.
We're mostly going to be focusing on the State of the Union. Some interesting polls came out today. Kevin and his amazing abilities is going to read into Trump's energies, read into his performance today, and then read into some of the rebuttals. And then we're going to go into check in a little bit across across the pond, across the world, into Iran and some things building there. And then we'll move into March's energies, pulling into the astrology and the tarot of it all. And then we'll end today with the No Kings protest. We feel I peeked into the astrology of the No Kings protest, and it's very positive, but also very groundbreaking. So we'd love to share all of that with you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it, Ness.
Yeah. So let's get into the first one, the weather. And
Yeah. Been a bit.
it's been, yeah, you're not completely on the New England area, but have you been impacted?
Not majorly, no.
Okay.
We got some snow. I think we got, I don't even know if we got any from the coast, any even like outside of it. We got a couple inches of snow,
Okay.
and it cooled down quite a bit, but nothing, catastrophic here.
Yeah, I think I read yesterday, I had quoted yesterday that maybe it was 140,000 people without power,
Yeah,
and then it
quite a
might have
bit.
ended at 60, but I actually found out later it was 600K.
Oh, wow.
people without power. That's close to, yeah, that's extraordinary. And when these power lines go down, it takes a while to repair them because people have to get into those locations and the roads aren't plowed. And
Yeah, you get 2 feet of snow. Yeah, I mean, yeah, how do you even start, right? You have to get the roads all cleared to get trucks in and out
yeah.
to get that all restored. Yeah, it's been a big mess, I've heard.
Yeah, it's interesting. We looked at the astrology of February last month, and Uranus and Taurus, which Taurus represents Earth, the material
Mhm.
world. Uranus and Taurus was going to be squared by multiple planets, and we, saw natural disasters potentially. And, you February has kind of delivered that in terms of we
Mm,
saw West Coast had record rains,
yeah.
flooding in areas. We saw this New England blizzard, which apparently is like the worst storm since 1978. Like
Oh,
the
wow.
amount of snow that has been dropped in such a short amount of time was just
Mm.
um, people were not prepared. But I also heard that Mandani did a great job in New York. He basically enlisted a lot of the municipal workers
Mm.
to say, if you want to clear the street, we'll pay you like $20 or $30 an hour just to
Oh,
get you.
nice.
Yeah, so they were really able to kind of send out a call for workers, and then people were
Mm.
able to respond to shovel snow and get New York back running.
I
Yeah.
can't remember too if that southern winter storm that came through was at the beginning of February or if it was end of January, but yeah, we had
Yes.
that. I was feeling, and I'm still feeling, timing's always a bit hard. My guides were showing me like a three chain event with like earthquakes and a volcano. So I don't know if that's February or if we're going into March. It feels very soon.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
I believe Philippines just had a pretty big earthquake,
Yeah.
and I do feel like that area being very active. Japan as well.
Yeah.
Um, I think the West Coast has been a little bit more active, but nothing like catastrophic, and I'm not feeling catastrophic, but
No.
uh,
I think, yeah,
that
Thailand
whole
also
ring
had
of fire,
earthquakes. Yeah.
whole ring of fire just being really active.
Mm, very interesting. I would imagine in April too, there's a lot of activation in Aries. That
Okay,
could
that
be
kind of fiery energy, like I
fiery
feel a big
energy.
volcano.
Yeah, very interesting. It's so funny in America, we have such a media bubble, so we won't even know.
Mm-hmm. Don't know
We,
what everything else is going
yeah,
on in the world.
exactly. We're in such a little silo.
Arizona, Australia, way off there,
Yeah,
has had a
yeah,
lot of big fires too, and I was predicting for this year a lot of it's going to be very seismically active,
yeah.
along with the weather and earth changes being very significant this year.
Yeah,
Lots of
even
fire, so
with all the rain on the West Coast, it's
mhm.
not just us in California, it's Portland, it's sorry, Oregon, it's Washington, it's Vancouver. And when you have additional rain like this, that means in spring you get a lot more vegetation. Like you get a lot more
Mm,
growing in areas. But then if that
dry.
vegetation is from a burst of rain as opposed to sustained, water source, that's going to be dried by
Hmm.
August and September, and that's kindle for a potential fire. So,
It's going to be a
um,
very, very hot summer, I feel.
oh, interesting. You
I think
see
it'll be
that.
record
Okay.
breaking. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little bit in California. We've had our history of fires. I'm a little bit more concerned in August, September fire season because if all this beautiful green that's sprouting right now just dries up quickly because there's no direct water source to sustain it, that's going to be yeah, I have to wear a mask, have to look at my air quality score, like it's a whole thing. Like,
Yeah. I think a good reminder of these predictions is not to live your life in fear, but just to, have, if you're able to, be somewhat prepared for it,
yeah, yeah,
um, have some extra food, water,
yeah,
batteries, um, you know, not live in fear, but just follow your intuition.
yeah.
I actually think a lot of this earth activity, um, in a sense, is actually bringing us together because it's almost having to manage a lot of this as a community. And so it's almost like Mother Earth's way of kind of getting us to try to come back together because things have been so divided for a while.
It's like a mother getting the kids just to get
Hmm.
along.
Yeah.
You guys are fighting too much. Yeah, very much so. And I think both with astrology and also just when the folks do sessions with you, the information is not meant to unsettle us. The
No.
information is meant to just like calm us and be prepared with it. If you know exactly what to fire, get your go kit ready, or you make sure to have a better air filter at the house. To kind of
Yeah.
purify the outside airs. Yeah, this is a way to be more pragmatic as opposed to spiral in
It's
fear.
not settling down anytime soon. So it's
Yeah.
always, I think, no matter where you are, something could happen. So just making sure that you have something to be prepared with, I think
Yeah,
is
yeah,
important.
very, very good. So we have the blizzards that are occurring, and I think
Yes.
in New York they have opened the schools. So yesterday was a snow day, and so the kids were had to stay at home. But I believe they're starting to open up businesses. The schools are starting to open up. I don't think power has been restored completely everywhere, but it's starting to thaw
Yeah.
this winter storm.
Thank
Moving,
goodness it was only like a day or two.
yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it was just
It
a
kind of
flash
passed
kind
through
of
pretty
blizzard.
quick. Yeah.
They weren't sustained too long. Moving to the State of the Union.
Yeah,
So,
let's take a
folks,
look. That's going to be
yeah,
later tonight. We're
yes,
reading on State of the Union Day. I will not be watching, but I will watch the clips afterwards.
that's so funny. I do watch it. I
That's
do watch
okay.
it. I know, folks, I'm not a Trumper because I watch it, but I think it's an interesting case study of analysis. Like it's an interesting anthropological kind of study of human behavior.
Yeah. I prefer to not be screaming at my TV and calling him a liar and cursing at him. So for my own sanity, I'd rather just peace of mind. I'll watch. I'm sure there will be a lot of big clips
Hmm.
tomorrow
Yeah, to
morning or
synthesize
even
it all.
afterwards. But what?
Yes, but we're
Mhm.
recording this in the morning, folks, around noon Oakland Pacific time here. So if you were watching this after the State of the Union, just that's kind of why
Yeah, we'll
the
see
timing
how it
is.
all turns out, how accurate we were.
Yeah. So one thing I want you to read on Kevin with your
Yeah.
abilities is let's feel into Trump's current state of mind.
Hmm.
So, a couple things happened in the past 24 hours. A bunch of news organizations slammed Trump with some polling numbers, and I'm going to share
Mm.
them so folks can see this. It's just like he's been hit by a blizzard, pardon the
Yeah.
pun, of poll numbers. CNN came out with the poll number and saying, yeah, he hit a record low with independents.
Like
Independents are
25% of independent support. It was like really low.
Yeah, oh goodness, I hit the paywall of CNN. Okay, I'm probably gonna have to Google it, go around it to find it. But yeah, it's record low with independents. And NPR came out with the poll yesterday and said most people are thinking the US is worse off
Yeah.
than where it was a year ago. This is a great one, folks, if you want to look at it yourself on NPR. They have great graphics breaking it down individually. And then Fox gave a poll today, and apparently this is kind of the one that made Trump go on Truth Social this morning and do a
Ooh.
rant. This is what the expression is: "The ketchup is flying on the walls."
Poor
And as
staff.
you can see, it's really about the economy. It's about inflation, tariffs, a little bit about foreign policy biting off too much with Greenland and Ukraine.
No health
Um,
care. Yeah.
yeah, but it's really about kitchen table issues. Can I
Yeah.
pay my medical bills? Can I, have food on my table? That's really where he's doing poorly, and that's kind of where he needs to close the gap with the speech today. And then Washington Post did a poll 2 days ago, and here it had 60% of Americans disapprove of Trump. And so that was a big thing. I can't click on it because there's a paywall as well there.
Can I
But
just say intuitively,
yeah,
I think a lot of these pollsters are actually kind of sugarcoating it, especially Fox. I
yeah.
actually think it's worse than what they're
I
putting out
never,
there.
my naive brain did not consider that, but I was on a live with someone the other day, and someone in the chat said, "Oh, I think the numbers are not, they can't, they have to
No.
be
I
more
would say maybe like a
flattering."
third. Support him, two-thirds.
Wow.
Yeah, it feels
Because you
pretty
know what?
significant.
In the past year, basically, when it comes to low polls, they all land at this number and they never go below, which
Hmm.
is what we're seeing now. Um, and I know the economy numbers are worse than where they were at the previous low. And so, goodness
Definitely a
gracious.
lot lower than Biden's support when towards the end of his presidency, when the polls were
Wow.
really low for him.
So it's probably way more lower than what
Yeah, for
he
sure.
is being led to believe. Even with the Fox News poll, I think someone grabbed him as he was moving between buildings today, and he did a soundbite of, and he kind of admitted it, like something about, the numbers aren't great or something like that. So,
Oh, you know what's interesting too? Wasn't he rambling today or yesterday again about not getting into heaven.
Oh, did he really?
He was. Yeah, I saw something about that earlier. And we said this is not going to be a good month for the health for him.
Yeah,
Maybe
February's not good.
we haven't been publicly, things haven't been announced, but I feel something major coming up with the health. I even feel it's kind of interesting that they're doing the State of the Union today because I feel like a lot of people around him really want to limit access
Um,
in public, having him out in the public. We
oh,
haven't seen him
interesting.
a lot out there recently.
No, but also I think it came out today. He's pushing the length of his speech today by I think 20
Jeez.
minutes. And so that feels even counterintuitive to what his team might want. They might want him to
Yeah,
keep the shortest speech. Even his speech on Friday when he gave remarks after the Supreme Court tariff strike down, he read from a paper the whole time. Like he was,
interesting.
it wasn't going off the cuff. So um,
I think
I
it'll be
could,
a little bit of both tonight.
interesting. Okay. So we want you to pull cards on Trump's current state, especially when all these
Mhm.
polls are bam, bam, bam hitting him so hard. Um, because yeah, you go ahead because I have my hits on this, but I'm curious. And he's also very sensitive to numbers. He loves numbers, he loves ratings. So I imagine that he's not taking this well at all.
No. Oh, it's interesting too because they do want to, so they're going to want to put him right back into hiding after this because I feel like it's not going to go well. He's actually very nervous, I get. Nine of Swords, which is about paranoia. It's being anxious, not sleeping well. I don't think he sleeps at all, right?
No, he's
Um,
texting all throughout the night.
he's going to come in super aggressive, but I do feel like it's going to be very almost a bit disconnected at the same time. Like
Hmm.
he wants to come in strong and fiery, that lion, that strength. He's
Hmm.
going to be combative towards others. It will be interesting the Supreme Court justices that show up after the tariff decision because I kind of feel like him going after them too, but it's going to all be about, not taking any kind of accountability for what he's done, but just blaming and projecting and gaslighting. But I'm actually feeling a lot of anger and rage.
Hmm.
Um, you have the judgment card too. I don't think it's going to be judged very well. He's going to come across very disconnected too.
What
Very
card is
low
that?
energy, Four of Cups,
Oh.
the moon. So
Ooh.
it's going to be very unfocused, murky. Like I said, the hermit, they're going to want him to go back into hiding. Um,
Oh my goodness. And it's so funny because I actually looked at the astrology for him for the State of the Union. Let me share it on my side.
got the death
Um,
card too.
oh wow. Interesting. So something that clearly is ending for him in
Yeah.
terms of
I
what
re
this.
We'll see. The timing isn't always the easiest to predict, but I really feel I don't feel him around too much longer. Really don't. What are
Yeah.
you picking up with the astrology for
So
today?
yeah, I looked at the astrology for the State of the Union and it's not good. It's
No.
not good
Oh, that
for
looks very
for
discombobulated all over
yeah,
the
it's
place.
very discombobulated. I'm glad even with your knowledge, you can like this
I
is
don't
not
know
a
how
good
to read a
chart.
chart at all.
But even Kevin can tell this is not a good chart.
Very
Well,
chaotic.
there's some chaotic things that are happening for sure. One thing is Mars. Transiting Mars is loosely opposing his natal Mars. And Mars is kind of where we feel activated, where we fight, where we have our
Hmm.
momentum, where we have our energy, our passion. And he's feeling it triggered and he's feeling it posed. He's feeling like he has to kind of go in there and work and fight and scramble, but he's feeling that opposition to his fight. So clearly has an opponent he's
Yeah,
dealing with that he has to go against. This is the seventh house of partnership, so there seems to be someone opposing him. I don't think this is a Democrat GOP thing. I think this has to do with the powers that are happening
it
behind
could.
scenes.
It's behind the scenes because I feel like the cabinet and Um, well, even when we had that big Epstein drop, I felt like that was an inside job from somebody. I feel like he's very paranoid and feels, I think we talked about this for
Yeah.
February too,
Yeah.
hidden enemies.
Hidden enemies. Yeah, he
Yeah,
had another seventh house opposition. I think it was Pluto. Or no, it was the eclipse. The first
the
eclipse
eclipse.
that
Yeah.
happened February 17th was opposing his Mars. So where Mars is now, the sun and moon were there. And so he's getting this double activation of where he was on the eclipse week. Not great, folks. This is like
Mm.
he feels his energies, he feels tired, his energy split. It's not a good feeling. We might feel like he's a bit like angry manic, but also like weak too at certain
Yeah, I
points of
think
the
so.
speech.
It
You know,
just
he's
makes me worried a little bit too, because when somebody is so exhausted and it feels like they don't have, like the walls are caving in, how is he going to retaliate and react? It makes me
yeah,
nervous about some global stuff that we'll talk about later.
yeah, how when he's backed into a corner,
Mhm.
how does he respond and how does he lash out? So, folks, his energy, he either might be super manic and like run on sentence, or his energy might wax and wane.
Yeah.
He's gonna feel very tired. I don't think we're gonna hear him do a lot of post interviews right away. Exactly what you're saying. He's gonna do his speech and kind of go away for like 24 hours or something like that to recover, especially if they give him drugs and stuff to pep him up. We also see a square with transiting Mercury and Venus. Venus rules relationships, Mercury rules communication,
Mhm.
thoughts. And so this is him speaking to people, speaking to groups of people. And this is squaring his sun. I mean, it's squaring his sun, North Node, in Uranus, his quirkiness, his avant-garde, his disruptiveness is being challenged. And then it's also his moon and his south
Mm.
node. And so he's really being triggered and challenged right now with words and communications, with
Yeah.
numbers, with data. And so it's kind of like as much as he's speaking, he doesn't feel like it's landing. It's like he doesn't get the feedback of success. And so
Mm.
it's like a pebble in his shoe. Like he's going forward, but it feels odd. It feels ill-fitting. His speech actually might not be his. This might be an instance where you can clearly feel, oh, someone wrote that whole speech and he just was a teleprompter moment.
I
So,
don't I don't know if I feel like he's a big speech writer myself.
oh, really?
But you know what it might be too, as you were kind of talking, it's not landing even with Republicans because a lot of the Republicans are kind of tired of it too.
Yeah. They're tired of the tactics, the what is it? You
They
pee
care
on
about
your
winning their
leg.
own elections. And when
Yeah, they're gonna
somebody
need
is so corrupt and unstable and just mean,
yeah,
um, and their voters aren't happy,
yeah.
they're seeing all of these special elections and how much of a big swing that is.
Yeah,
So they worry about
especially
their own career.
the polls coming up with the economy. You know, the gaslighting of peeing on your leg and telling you it's raining
Hmm.
is not working with the constituents, especially the congressional constituents, because how are they going to win their midterms that's coming up in like 6 months in terms
Yeah.
of
Well,
that type of
you'll
energy?
watch after primaries.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot more Republicans really stand up to him. We're starting to see some now, but I do think it will be significantly more if he's even still in office. So,
Yeah. So that's the astrology of his speech today. Not great.
no,
Which is really bad astrology to give a speech, to be honest. And seeing the Mercury squaring both his sun and his moon. You know, it's a great energy. Maybe have a breakthrough to speak in a way you've never spoke before. So there is, you know, there's always a shadow side and a positive side to certain, you know,
I
transits.
don't
But
I don't see it going well.
yeah, I don't. It feels a bit, when I tap in, it feels a bit shock and awe. That's what I
Yeah.
feel about his speech. It reminds me of that State of the Union where he started the State of the Union by giving Rush Limbaugh a Medal of Honor at the
Mm.
beginning to trigger the Democrats, and they did go crazy afterwards, like, oh my gosh, you did what?
Well, wasn't it
Um,
also like his inauguration speech too when he first was elected? That was
yeah.
really dark.
Yes.
I feel like it's going to be just so incoherent, dark, a lot of anger there.
Yeah, I got that vibe too. You know, in the first term, he kept doing these doom and gloom speeches, like,
Mhm.
you know, this is the enemy, I must save you, kind of, you know, we're all gonna die, kind of vibe.
Well, he was just talking about the other day too with the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
I can destroy this country if I want to.
yeah.
I think it's going to be dark like that.
Oh my
I think it's
goodness.
going to be
Yeah,
very authoritarian.
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm going to throw a
Um,
couple cards on how it will be received.
yeah. Let me grab my dog real quick. I'm so
Sure.
sorry. She's
I
using
can
her
pause
full
it real
vocab.
quick.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that. We are back. So we're going to look at how the State of the Union is going to be received
Yeah.
too.
How will Trump receive? What's his performance like in terms of how will people view it?
Ooh, these are not good cards at all. No major arcana, but I think We have the bully here.
Mm.
It's going to be the attack on others, joy of oppressing people, being the bully. I actually think he might slip of the tongue a little bit too. Like maybe he tells on himself a little bit because he's just charging ahead so impulsive. I feel like for entertainment purposes only, the stimulants that they give him, he's going to be really antsy and agitated. He's disappointed. Three of Swords, Five of Cups, grief, loss. He's going to feel abandoned and out in the cold. And I had the Nine of Swords come out from earlier, anxious. These are not good cards at all.
Oh my gosh.
It's
Even when you
all
were
swords and stress, and it's not going to be good.
I wondered too, as you were pulling the three of swords,
Hmm.
we mentioned earlier that he might visibly lash out at the
Yeah.
Supreme Court because they're going to be sitting. Maybe he's going to lash out in a way where you can tell his ego's bruised. Like he might do it
For
where he
sure.
gets too personal, like maybe call them stupid in front of their faces or something like that.
He'll
Like just
definitely
really,
attack them, I feel like. I don't know if
yeah.
they'll all be there, actually. I
Oh,
think
oh,
Roberts will. It will be interesting to see if they actually do like a face up on Roberts or the
mm,
court when he's attacking them.
yeah.
Because I
They've done
almost
that
feel
in the
like an eye
past.
roll at him, at Trump.
Be so interesting. Okay, so yeah, those are not good cards at all
They're
in
not,
terms
he's
of.
stressed and he feels, the thing is with narcissists that they just want all of this praise and all of this attention and they want to be liked so much.
Mhm,
And I actually feel his energy feels like he feels very much abandoned right now.
mhm, mhm.
He's going to come from a place of a bruised, hurt ego
Lashing out. It's
for
like if
sure. It's
it's
very aggressive.
it reminds me of a kid, like if on a kid playground, if no one wants to play with the toys or play with them, they'll
Mm.
just like turn up the whole table so no one can play type of thing.
Yeah.
Like
Well, it's
so it
with a
feels
bully, it's
yeah.
it's all about they're miserable, so they need
Mhm.
to bring everybody, they take all of their joy away so that everybody can be miserable, right?
Same. Yep, exactly. Yep. That
So
makes
if
complete
he's
sense.
so unhappy and he feels abandoned and unliked and not good, everybody else watching the State of the Union is sure as hell going to feel that way. That's his
Okay.
mindset.
Okay, so with your cards too, he's lashing out, he's
Hmm.
blaming other people, they're the victim, they're the blah blah blah. He kind of gets his grievances out too, like the
Yeah.
name calling. He does that, the Pocahontas stuff that he did with Elizabeth Warren, so we could probably see that side of him more. Okay, so what about the rebuttal? So
Oh.
Abigail
Hmm.
Spanberger, um,
Bamberger, yeah.
she's doing a rebuttal. I'll just zoom in for folks so they can see. And then Alex Padilla is also doing the Spanish rebuttal. I'm curious if you want to pull cards on Abigail.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll throw cards on both. And I was telling you earlier, I definitely feel more energy around Abigail Spamberger, but that could be because she has maybe more people watching her. I actually feel like she's going to do very well.
yeah, I
Um,
thought that too.
I think she's very moderate,
Hmm.
so trying to be like somewhat bipartisan. Um, but I feel like she's very grounded and articulate.
I get that she's very grounded, her energy is very pulled in, and it's
Hmm.
very like it's more like table stakes issues. Like, do we have clean water? Can you pay your bills every month? I feel like it's going to be about the economy, but
Yeah.
I think it's
I
going to
will
be
say I
very
wish it was
grounded.
a little bit more fiery though, and really kind of meeting the importance of the moment.
Mm. You think more air than fire for
Like if
her?
you had Jasmine Crockett up there
Oh
giving the
yeah.
rebuttal, that would be something. But
Ooh, yes, that would be
I don't think
great.
she'll be. I see her being very mature, very strong
Yeah.
and grounded.
Very much the grown up. Like here, I'm
Hmm.
the grown up, I'm the grown up in charge. Kind of giving me a little bit like Margaret Thatcher energy, but
Mm,
not as conservative, not as counting every penny type of dynamic.
yeah, she feels very, very secure and
Hmm.
grounded. I get
Hmm.
a lot of earth energy here, Four of Pentacles, so just trying to hold on to
Yeah.
security. Um, she'll be talking about the economy, I think, will
Oh,
be a big part of the rebuttal, but she's going to come across very balanced, temperance.
very good.
Um, she may even call out about how incoherent he is. I get the Judgment card with the Seven of Cups, so there might be a
Wow.
little bit of an attack. And I see her really trying to rally the troops um, because so many of us, I think, right now are just feeling very tired and exhausted and trying to instill some kind of hope.
Hmm. Hmm.
So actually, this feels like it's very good. But I think the
Wow.
main focus will be economy.
It's interesting when you pulled the Judgment, the Seven of Cups. That could be her version of getting a zinger in there in terms
Mhm.
of
Could be
her wand
Epstein
energy.
stuff too. I just felt.
Hmm.
We
She
know,
might
well, a
address
lot
it.
of the victims are going to be there. He won't address them, or maybe he attacks them. No, keep baby.
Sorry.
It's all good.
There's just some neighbors doing some work, and so she's I
He's
pokes
so
my little dog.
cuddly.
Sometimes dogs makes appearances.
All good.
Okay, and then Alex Padilla, what do
Yeah.
you get on his? I feel
He'll
energetically it
be
was
more fiery, I actually feel like.
oh, and
Was
he
he
was
detained in a or he wasn't detained, he was attacked in a nice facility, wasn't he? If I'm
yes,
remembering
he was
correctly.
Noam was doing a press conference and he asked
Arrested.
questions and I guess the people didn't recognize that he was even though he had a pin, like the
Mhm.
congressional pin on him, they didn't recognize him and they got into a tussle where he was like pinned down. I remember seeing the footage and the
I think it was
administration didn't
intentional.
apologize. It was just it wasn't
I
a
think it
great
was
situation.
intentional. I don't
Yeah,
know
that's
if
what
it
folks
was
were saying.
ignorance, but
Yeah. I just, not that anyone is above anyone else, but it's just a person who does so much service for a country to have, hands on them like that just feels
yeah.
abhorrent.
All right, Alex Padilla. He's fighting. Where Abigail comes across a little bit more grounded, he's on the attack. Seven of Wands
Ooh.
here too.
That maybe that Jamie Crockett or Jasmine Crockett energy you were looking for.
Yeah, yeah. But I do think Abigail will have more of the limelight. He has
Mhm.
the sun here too, so he's shining bright, coming across. He will also talk about the economy.
Mm.
Seven of Cups comes out again as well. So, him
They
not,
both talk
I think it's
about
going to
it.
be very incoherent, Trump's speech tonight.
Oh.
They may actually talk about like his health
Oh. You know what
because they
too?
have the Two of
Because
Pentacles, which can be about the economy and it not being finances not
yeah.
being balanced. But it's juggling. It's almost if you can think of somebody being like cognitive and grounded, it's very unsettled, unbalanced.
Yeah.
And Ten of
Because
Swords here too.
Ten of Swords. Because what happens is
That's
these
a
are the
threat.
rebuttals. So they can wait. Like they can make modifications to the speech while Trump does the speech. And so
Yeah.
the Seven of Cups you're picking up on, they're probably maybe seizing on something Trump has said, especially a gaffe, and
Mhm.
maybe addressing that directly or
I think
indirectly.
there'll be several.
How interesting. The Ten of Swords too. That almost feels like the sadness because his speech will be in Spanish. So I
Hmm.
could see him addressing the Spanish speaking community about the ICE raids, like just the sadness that their community is going
It could
through.
be attacks even afterwards too, like threats.
Oh, interesting.
That was my first thought.
Wow.
Because I don't
Okay.
think we'll see Trump too much afterwards, but
Mhm.
he'll be going crazy on Untruth Social.
Yes. He did that at the DNC when Kamala gave it. He went on Truth Social, he went on News Nation. So I imagine,
So
so funny. We're
he'll be
seeing
up
him,
till 4 or 5 with messages coming in tonight because he's so pumped up.
especially if the reviews are very positive for Abigail,
Oh
or
yeah.
Alex, then it's going to take the attention away, and so he will feel the need to kind of regain the control. Okay, moving to the global stage.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Iran, and I want to bring up Iran because Ron has a couple things happening. There's thoughts that today he might mention the conflict with Iran. There's a whole question mark, or will we strike Iran? Will we not strike Iran? And one thing I just want to offer as a data point is it came out today or yesterday that the military soldiers that have been deployed in the Middle East have not been able to return home for the past 8 months.
Mm,
Basically, when the U.S. striked that nuclear facility in Iran last year, they've basically been at the state of readiness in the Middle East just in case some conflict will
like on
happen. And that's a
standby.
lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot for 8 months not to go home, not to go to funerals because you're on edge. And we've not been in such a long state of readiness since 2003. That's the last time we were at this level of readiness. And so I'm curious about your current hits on Iran. And one other thing in particular is Marco Rubio is actually going to have a meeting right before the State of the Union. And he's going to have a meeting with top congressional people of like, I think military committees. I think it's like
Hmm.
called the Gang of Eight or something. They're the key people that it comes to foreign policy and war. And he's going to meet with them and debrief on them about the current status and the options there. And it's not Pete Hegseth. It's Marco
Isn't
Rubio.
that interesting?
I'm curious if you want to read on that meeting,
Yeah.
um, and what you see there. And then we can talk about the Iran conflict as a whole, because I think I mean, also, Susan Wiles, when she did her Vanity Fair interview about, a month ago, she was positioning Marco Rubio in her Vanity Fair interview, like Marco Rubio's the heir apparent, not Vance. And
There's been
so,
a lot of that, and I actually feel like the cabinet's very divided. I've been reading on that for a while.
oh,
Just like
interesting.
chaos. I feel like a lot of them are seeing the writing on the wall and know, Trump's not going to be able to serve for a full term. And so they're trying to come up with backup plans, trying to save themselves. I actually feel a lot of them, I actually feel like more of them are actually connecting with Rubio than Vance,
Hmm.
surprisingly enough.
Yeah.
Vance isn't very likable. Um, but but yeah, interesting. Yeah, something significant. I've been saying I do feel like there's an escalation with Iran, and I've been saying it for the last few months. I feel like there's more airstrikes, and I actually feel that there may be some stuff going on in the waters too with the ships.
Okay. I can also, after you throw your cards in the Marco Rubio, I'll talk a little bit about the astrology of
Yeah,
Ron. And we'll talk about that. But it's just interesting that Marco Rubio's meeting with them, this big meeting right before the State of the Union. Because I feel the State of the Union will be more about the economy. But I wouldn't be surprised if he mentions Iran in his speech today.
I think that he's positioning to do an attack, is what I'm getting. We got the Knight of Wands, which is all about kind of taking charge. It's that fiery, kind of like warlike energy. We have to act. I have that with the Ace of Wands. So a card of action. Uh, Aces are all about something new.
Yeah.
It's kind of that fighting energy. He may say that they have intel, that they have to act very quickly. We had to show our strength, and we have a tower moment.
So tower for Marco Rubio or tower, oh,
I
like the
feel like
war.
it's like signaling like we have to have some kind of operation.
Oh, interesting.
It's like maybe it's another weapons of mass distractions because I have
Okay,
like
some
the high
version.
priestess. So
Yeah.
it's like there's a hidden agenda here too, but it could be like we have some kind of inside knowledge that we have to do something.
Okay, we have to strike now because of they might get some advantage here. Or
Hmm.
I think it actually came up in the news that yesterday that Iran was going to buy missiles from China.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
and do you remember this time, July of last year, Iran was throwing bombs to Israel, and then they
Hmm.
were going back and forth. And I think Israel has the Iron Dome, but there's a certain point if you have sustained war for like 7 days or 5 days, the Iron Dome gets weaker and weaker. And I
Yeah,
think they just purchased nuclear missile, or they were not nuclear missiles. I'm sorry. Folks, I didn't mean to say that. There's an article yesterday that Iran was trying to purchase a particular missile from China that would be more effective. I don't think it's like 100% effective, but it's more effective than what they normally have when
against
it
our
comes to.
defense systems.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I could see that being part of what you're picking up with
Well,
Marco Rubio.
Netanyahu was just how many times has he been at the White House since Trump's been in there? Seven, eight? He was just there, I think, last week.
I grew up with weapons of mass destruction and 9/11 and that whole play and how that
Same.
played out. And I'm looking at this thing with Netanyahu, with Gaza and just the humanitarian crisis with Gaza. And, you know, we're, we had our own genocide and we sort of weren't able to do anything.
Yeah.
And I think in history, are we going to realize, like in 20 years or 10 years, like, oh, Israel and a bunch of oligarchs control the power of the world, and they basically did whatever they wanted to? Because Netanyahu has an election in October. And so
Mhm.
he wants a war because that's like, then he's a war candidate. And then it makes, a lot of the times when you're a war candidate, you often get, nominated.
People
You
don't
get,
want so much. change or like
Yeah.
instability during those times.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. So, Netanyahu wants it, but Putin doesn't want a war with
That's what
Iran.
I find very interesting because I actually, and I've been saying for a while, I felt like there'd be a massive fallout between Trump and Putin. And I wonder if it has to do with Iran because I feel like Netanyahu has goods on Trump, but so does Putin, clearly.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually felt like there might be a big leak from Russia about Epstein stuff,
Oh,
like blackmail.
interesting. Yeah. To kind of nudge his, it's so funny how Trump is manipulated by so many people.
Yeah,
But that would make
it's
sense.
terrifying.
It's terrifying. Yeah, it makes sense though, but it's also terrifying that we're in this situation we can't get out of it. Okay, so you're seeing strikes. Um, that Marco Rubio is talking about strikes, something about weapons of some version of weapons of mass destruction. We must strike
I get a
soon
sense of
before
urgency with
a
it.
sense of urgency. And I'm a baby intuitive. I'm nowhere anywhere near you. I don't see a strike. I think it gets really close. It gets really close and tense. But then I see Iran capitulating. That's my.
Mm.
But folks, take Kevin over me. Just say that.
Oh no, it's not about we can see what we see, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. I want folks to trust their own
And I
intuition
hope,
too.
obviously, I hope what you're picking up is right. I don't see us going into a full-out war. I do feel like
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of changes in Iran, but I
yeah.
do get like a sense of it being very, very on edge and very kind of close into turning into a huge like global
Global
world
war.
conflict.
Yeah,
Yeah,
another war in the Middle East. So let me talk a little bit about the astrology
sure.
in March, but I'm also going to speak to what you said about this war thing. So, folks, we're going to talk about March's astrology, but when it comes to Iran and war, there are two things that I want to point out. One, it's not astrology based or spiritually based, but the Muslim religion right now is going through Ramadan. And Ramadan ends March 19th. And to do
Mm,
strikes before Ramadan ends is blasphemous. Like it's
yeah.
just you don't do that. It means you have no humanity. It's hard to negotiate peace afterwards if you violate a principle like that. So,
Mm,
I highly see that no strikes will occur now. It will occur if it will occur. It will occur March 19th onward,
okay.
and March 19th onward. Let me actually stop sharing this. I'll share it in another way. I'll share it with your chart, Kevin. Is a lot of planets start to move into Aries in April, like the last week of March, but really in April. I'll just bring this up for folks. And one thing in particular is we have Mars in Aries in
Oh,
April, especially the
that's a lot of
second.
warlike energy, right?
Yes, that's warlike energy. So if there are strikes, as an astrologer, when I look at this, I see very much the second part of April.
Mm,
The bigger part of April is what I would see for strikes, and there's going to be a point where Saturn will be, sorry, Mars will hit Neptune, which is very dreamy, visionary, righteous action, and then Mars will hit Saturn, which is about karma and like long-term goals, and so potentially these are dates to watch out for when, especially Mars on Saturn. I could see that being something about war in particular. And then,
It,
well, go ahead.
mm, I was just gonna say, as you were talking, could even be something going on with Ukraine and Russia too.
Yes,
There
there's
could be
something
something with that. I just
something
kind of got that
combative.
hit.
Yeah, this is a collective energies and it's going to manifest in different areas of people's lives, whether it's Ukraine or Iran, whether it's your
Yeah.
personal life, you might feel agitated a bit more. You might have less patience or compassion for the person ahead of you on the highway
Mm,
or your partner. So yeah, there'll be something to watch for in April. But in terms of astrology, I would say the second part and the bigger part of April is what to watch out for. And there's something with
okay.
Mercury nearby too. There's something with data, communication, information, like a cyber attack, or what you're seeing as maybe some data and a sense of urgency. There's something like that. But moving into March's energies,
Yes.
what do you feel anything in particular for March, Kevin, in terms of when you tap in?
Yeah. It's interesting because I do feel I've been saying, and I think we both said significantly a lot of stuff happening January, February. It feels like a bit of a continuum. I don't know if it feels like it's quite as loud. I know April, the astrology is pretty intense then too, very significant. Um, the thing is I feel like all of all this chaos going on between the Epstein, and this is like global, not just here in the States. Um, the economy. I think people are just tired of all of the corruption and struggling. I've been saying the big thing I see for March and into April is like protests, global protests that feel like they're very historic, like record breaking.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we have a No Kings protest. Is it March 28th?
Yep.
I feel like that's going to be pretty significant. Um, because I feel like people have just had it. They've just had it. We've been feeling defeated, hopeless, and I actually feel like the energy coming in, it's like, okay, now's the time to feel empowered and to connect to that inner authority and stand in our strength, right? Fight for
Mm-hmm.
what we believe in. But it feels very encouraging as well, like supportive.
Mm-hmm. Very much. That matches the astrology very,
All right.
very, very well.
Maybe maybe I should take a class.
You might be psychic if you can
I
feel the
might be a little
energies without.
psychic, yeah.
So, March, folks, yeah, exactly what you're saying, Kevin. March is more, is a bit calmer. We just kind of dismount eclipse season,
Hmm.
and then we start to have momentum building, as we move through March. Because April, folks, April is going to be like rocket fuel. Like you're going to have a lot of things start, a lot of change will occur in April. So pace yourself in
Interesting.
March. Just allow calm wherever you can get moments of calm. Take a break, because April is like you're not going to maybe eat all your meals. Like you're just going to be going and
Y-
reacting and responding, kind of whack-a-mole, and but a lot of good breakthrough energy too in
Yeah.
April.
My guides have been saying, like, kind of like an analogy of what we're going through, like we're in a pressure cooker. So it's
Mm-hmm.
this momentum and like this build, which
Mm-hmm.
I do think is going to continue on into March. If maybe isn't so much like big breaking news every day, but it feels still pretty significant. And I feel like the lid of the pressure cooker is going to pop off in April. That's how I
Okay,
see
yeah.
it.
Yes, very much so. There's gonna, and I think we're energetically gonna feel that. We're gonna feel like, oh,
Hmm.
we are now in a new paradigm. Oh, we're
Yeah.
in a new reality. So, folks, with March, there are two things I want you all to be aware of when it comes to moving through March's energies. The first one is there's like momentum building. It's kind of like you're walking and then you're picking up your pace and you're skipping and then you're jogging. That's kind of
Hmm.
the momentum that occurs. The first thing that happens to watch out for is this lunar eclipse in Virgo. Yes, we are still in eclipse season as we start March, but this is a very gentle eclipse. A lunar eclipse in Virgo here is really asking us to let go and let God. There's something about this lunar eclipse that's about surrender.
Hmm.
That's not about control and micromanaging, but really melting into the big vastness of each other and of the universe. And then the new moon that will occur in Pisces 2 weeks later is also part of that lesson as well. So there's something about surrender and solitude and melting into each other and the energies of this, spirituality of our universe, and feel that it's going to all work out. That's kind of the invitation of March. We
Okay.
also start equinox. The start of spring starts
Hmm.
in March, and I love the start of spring. I'm a triple cardinal, and every year at spring, I feel like I become a whole new person. And so, folks, if you got a lot of cardinal placements, you might also feel this as well. But very powerful, potent energy where Earth decides to have those green shoots, and you just start to see this renewal of, baby birds and, the blossoms on trees. It's just a beautiful, beautiful time. And that's also starting to occur in March. And then we have two planets going direct. We start the month with Mercury in retrograde,
Yeah.
but then Mercury goes direct. Jupiter also goes direct. And as they both go direct, they're going to loosely trine each other. So they are kind of both going direct and helping each other out, sharing information. It's just really beautiful forward
Mm.
momentum, but very gentle because they both are in water signs. So this is like
Oh,
intuition,
interesting. Could it
psychicness.
could it be also too like more insight, where maybe things have been hidden? So I think of Mercury as communication or information, and
Mhm.
Jupiter as expanding, so more.
Yeah.
So it could even be more I'm seeing.
Yeah, and I also feel there's something about us trusting our own intuition. So it's
Hmm.
like going, "Hey, I don't really buy what the Democrat posture is or the Republican posture is. I feel like something else is happening, like the subtext."
Interesting. Yeah.
And I feel there's going to be some breakthroughs about how we respond to the gaslighting on both sides
Hmm.
in terms of that. There's something true emerging, exactly what you're picking up there. So
Interesting.
that's the first vibe is this forward momentum, but we kind of start with a lot of solitude going inward, and then it starts to be more outwardly expressed, and we end the month with a lot more momentum than where we start.
Okay.
And then the second vibe of March is Venus is doing some really cool things. And Venus is gonna moves into Aries and it basically sextiles and squares and does really cool things. And then Venus ends in Taurus, and Taurus is ruled by Venus. So Venus loves being in Taurus. And when Venus goes into Taurus, it's going to soften the effects of Uranus at the last degree of Taurus. And they both are going to walk hand in hand into Gemini with for all of us in April. So if you have Taurus placements, if you have Libra placements, if you have Pisces or Aries placements in particular, you're going to know that this is going to be a good month for you. March will be great in terms of a softening, in terms of changes, breakthroughs with relationships, with money, with values. There's just some positive things happening because Venus is really helping us as we kind of integrate March.
Okay.
So when we go into March, there are, these two top events to watch out for. The first one is the lunar eclipse in Virgo. And a lunar eclipse is a full moon, but it's like 10 full moons. And full moons are all about releasing, letting go, and
Yeah.
Virgo. So this is like, I honestly feel this is the most gentlest full moon we can go through because
Interesting.
it's really about letting go and letting God. There's a beautiful surrender. So keep in mind, folks, because this is, the second part of eclipse season. And
So
then we
many
have
people
this.
have hard times with that, especially it's like because we have to be doing something or we have to be doing this, and it's almost like a time to kind of just like take a step back and maybe stop the doom scrolling, turn off the news,
Yeah.
just like kind of do some self-reflection,
Yeah.
right? Kind
And
of like a bit of rest.
I'm so guilty there. If you tell me what to do, I can run to the fire, I can knock off to-do items, but when you tell me just to sit still,
Yeah. I'm not the best with it either.
I'm like, wait, what? So yeah, there's a big invitation for the collective in March just to go inward, to not solve something, to not, micromanage something. And so, yeah, I think what you're picking up is very astute there, in terms of this lunar eclipse in Virgo and then this new moon in Pisces. And while we have this new moon in Pisces, there's the other planets are doing some really cool things too in terms of breakthrough energies and some good friction that's going to allow some new sparks to kind of emerge.
Mm,
And then we have a lot of direct energy here in orange. So again, this forward momentum, this kind of
okay.
breakthrough energy. And then Venus is doing some really cool things too. So it's much gentler, but it's also like there's like some things happening in the back end that's going to reshuffle. So it's like having Reiki while you sleep. It's just some energetic shifts occurring so you can kind of step into April as a different kind of person. So I actually want you to pull cards on this one,
Sure.
Kevin, in terms of
Lunar
what you feel.
eclipse.
Yeah, this lunar eclipse in Virgo. What's the lesson for the collective around this one? This is March 3rd, so it's in about a week, and this is a lunar eclipse, which is a kind of like 10 full moons. And full moons are about releasing, letting go what must surface. Often
Yeah.
things will come up and become very urgent or you'll have a lot of awareness around it, but that's because you're meant to let it go and release it. So it can feel a little triggering, folks. But this is in Virgo. Virgo, so here there's an invitation to declutter, detoxify,
Mm,
organize things. There's something about habits, letting go of habits that aren't serving you, bad routines, also perfectionism, letting that go, and just again,
yeah.
surrendering to God.
It's interesting because the cards I threw very much go with what you're saying. The Five of Swords, so a lot of us feeling a bit defeated, a bit tired, exhausted. I have the crown chakra coming in, so it's all about connecting to your spirituality, finding enlightenment, um, that growth. Oftentimes, we have to go through hard things in our
Mhm,
life, so that we can make necessary changes. That's where this growth and this development comes in.
mhm,
If everything was, amazing all the time, we'd be very comfortable, but what would we learn? Ultimately, that's what we're here for. I actually feel like it's a great time to come together in community too.
oh, I love it.
There's three of Pentacles, so there's reward, recognition, new friendships, partnerships.
Mm,
So there's like new relationship building. And then I get the Temperance. So balance, moderation, and Four of Swords. So taking that time to rest, to meditate, um, just to kind of go quiet, I think. Kind of quiet all of the external chaos that's going on. Find that inner peace, connect with that.
Very nice. I love that. Especially that Four of Swords really
Mm-hmm.
does, and Temperance. And I mean, all the cards, they really do.
It's all
And
about balance.
yeah, and the new moon too that's going to happen later is in Pisces, which is really that crown chakra
Oh,
energy too.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
intuition, right?
Yeah, very much.
Creativity.
Yeah, very. I just love how the cards always match. Why am I always surprised? I'm surprised every time it happens. And Mercury will be retrograding during this time. So there's an aspect of this that is like being aware of the mental chatter that happens in your mind, the ticker
Yeah.
tape of thoughts, and moving into the state of the observer, but also letting that go and having more distance around it. Um, and this eclipse is not great for Trump. The
Mm,
new moon in Pisces is actually better for Trump. Basically, Trump has had four lunar events that have been very difficult. The first one in January, both in February, and this first one in March are not great for him. And this is actually squaring, again, we talked about the square happening on the No Kings protest, but
hmm.
this is squaring, we have actually, sorry, I'm going the wrong one. Is Mercury. Mercury is still square, is retrograde, but it's squaring his moon, how he feels safe, how he anchors himself, as well as his sun and north node.
Mm,
So this makes him feel really on edge. This is a beginning. This is some releasing of how he communicates, how he speaks, um, something about his words, trusting folks. There's something that's coming to surface. His enemies,
mm,
the darker side of it, maybe the blackmail that's on
yeah.
him. There's something. I mean, that could potentially be March 3rd. Maybe a foreign party releases the Epstein files because they want to release the blackmail on him.
Yeah,
And
that makes
that
sense.
whole Russia thing that you mentioned earlier, this could be an interpretation of that.
Okay.
Um, but there's something with numbers, data, etc., that's really triggering him and activating him. But there's an invitation for him to not get caught in this numbers, not whether it's poll numbers, whether it's actually blackmail. They're asking him to let that go, so he's not so
Good luck
absorbed in
with
it.
that.
I know. Or this could be the economy. Maybe he has to relate to the economy
Mm,
in a different way than how he is, because right now he's looking at the stock market and 401(k)s, but maybe there's an invitation to think about just regular people. Like his strategy with the economy needs to be
he's
different.
not one to take accountability though, and I don't hell will freeze over before he does that.
Yeah. No, I think mediums will have to connect with him on the other
For
side. And,
sure.
ugh, oh my gosh, Kevin, one day you might do that.
Oh no, I'll pass on that.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I shudder at the thought.
Hard pass.
Okay. So, okay, that's Trump's eclipse. And we cover the State of the Union, and the other one is the new moon in Pisces. And this is again very hand in hand with the eclipse that happens 2 weeks prior. And this new moon in Pisces is going to be the integration of eclipse season. So it actually closes eclipse season. So we're still in eclipse season until this date. So folks, just keep that in mind in terms of these bigger energies. And this is a very great, like heart opening
Hmm.
new moon. There's
Can
something
I
with this. Yeah, go ahead.
can I ask, is it typical? I thought with a lot of like the solar eclipses that energy can integrate and shift like 6 months before to
It
6 months
can, yes,
after.
but the
Like
acute bits
the
of it.
massive
Yes.
energy. So it starts to calm
Yes.
down after that. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think your understanding of astrology is true. It's a release, ending of a cycle for 6 months, or a beginning of a cycle for 6 months. But the acute periods of the big shifts that occur of,
The
oh, the
pressure.
Supreme Court did the tariffs, or
Hmm.
oh, we arrested, Andrew, and no royal has been arrested for 400 years. Those more acute things happens between now and this new moon and
Got
in
it.
Pisces, March 18th.
Okay.
And it's going to sextile Uranus. So there's something about new beginnings, new breakthroughs. Venus is squaring Jupiter, so there's some good friction. These are the two benefics, but they're having friction to kind of spark some new things.
Mm,
And this is in Pisces, so this one is also asking us to surrender, to coexist with things that are not fully formed or resolved. You're kind of meant to, you know, live with the multitudes of things as opposed to putting everything in a neat box. And this is also a period where the veil will be thinner. I know
okay.
I had last year during the eclipse season, September, October, the veil was very thin for me. I know you mentioned earlier, like November was very thin
A
for
lot of
you.
those solar flares coming through did a lot of energy upgrades for me last
Yes, and then
November.
I've heard folks it's been quiet the past few months in terms of that what happened last winter. But I would imagine there's going to be a peak resurgence around this March 18th. So this is great to throw tarot, to kind of throw tarot for yourself, throw tarot for others, to book a reading with Kevin, to take a class. The veil will be. This is great to meditate, to ask questions, to connect with ancestors, just really great energy around that. And yeah, the actions to take is to seek solitude, do nothing, notice any interesting dreams that might
Mm,
occur. That's a very gentle kind of energy. Um, and that's kind of what it is for March, just
okay.
these two themes. I know we wanted to end on the No Kings protest, and before you pull cards into that, I
Mhm.
want to talk about the astrology of that day. So I'm going to do it in a kind of roundabout way. So,
Okay.
folks, this is the view of March. So, wherever the planets end, that's kind of where they end March 31st. The No Kings protest is going to be on the 28th. And so, we're looking at the edges of kind of where all these planets are. And so, from this, I can see that the sun will have passed Neptune and Saturn, and it will be in Aries. So there's something about March 28th. We're having this inner warrior energy, this energy to fight, to kind of assert ourselves, reclaim our
Mm.
rights. And this sun is being infused with Saturn, which is karma. Like, are we
Oh,
being
interesting.
karmically aligned?
Mhm.
Are we eating our veggies so we can have dessert later? There's something about being a grown up in this
Mhm.
situation, which is very nice. Also, we have Venus, and Venus will have just a conjunct Chiron, which is a wounded healer, healing wounds, healing flaws. And Venus will probably be the last stage of Aries. And so there's something potentially with the No Kings protest, as much as it's about authoritarianism and, saying we have a democracy, there potentially could be something with the Epstein victims
Oh,
about the Snow
interesting.
Kings protest, something about women and women's issues. But it's also very social. This because Mars is in Pisces, and Mars in Pisces is about humanitarian causes, compassion, seeing the forest for the trees. Mercury had just completed its retrograde and going direct also in Pisces. So there's a lot of heart opening energy, but also this action bias with Aries. Beautiful astrology for the No Kings protests. Very record breaking, very much
Yeah.
inspiring for all of us.
And that's going to
Um,
go into April too, right?
yes,
Yeah. I
yes.
feel like the energy continuing for April.
Quite a sight to behold. So, folks, if you're feeling intense with the news and going, oh my gosh, I can't, I can't see the light out of the tunnel, watch the Snow Kings protest.
Yeah. I think
Very,
it's going
very
to be,
positive.
I think it's going to be very inspiring, bringing a lot of people together and almost, it's interesting because we're kind of getting little glimpses of hope, I feel like, between
Mhm.
all of these special elections.
Yeah.
Um, the Supreme Court actually following the Constitution for once, which I've been predicting for a while with the tariffs. Um, more Republicans starting to stand up. But yeah, I do feel so there's been a little bit of like hope kind of coming in, or I've been feeling that way.
No, I
Um,
totally
I'm
agree
sure
with
not
that. Yeah.
everybody feels that way, but I can actually feel like there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Hmm.
And I do feel like these protests are going to be so encouraging.
Hmm. Yeah, very positive. Even we had that great cosmic reset February 20th with
Hmm.
Neptune and Saturn conjunct. That was all about, yeah, some new future emerging, some new vision, and we're now stepping into that timeline. Yeah.
Yeah. And didn't we get on the 20th? Was that when the Supreme Court made their decision?
Oh, yeah,
I think so.
that's
Yeah.
right. And we felt the grown-ups coming back. Like there is
Yeah, more
some
people actually
boundaries.
kind of standing up for what's right,
Yeah.
not being
It's
such
interesting for
cowards.
them because when they did that executive privilege law that they
Hmm.
passed, I think was right before when Biden was still president, we were like, "Oh my gosh, this is a wild court." But when they did this tariff thing, it really felt, yeah, more mature, more that Saturn kind of karmically aligned.
Interesting. I threw some cards on the protest. Um, you know, I had felt a while ago that Trump was going to look for an excuse to attack protesters or do something like that.
Okay.
And I actually feel like he may be trying to be like a force, be a bit of a bully, try to intimidate people. The thing is that we're not going to be intimidated. We're like done giving our power um to this man.
Yep.
That's the very much the energy that I'm feeling. Um, so make sure that you're if you do protest, and I think that we should, I'm planning on it. Just make sure that you're very aware of your surroundings,
Mm-hmm.
and just being very careful. I do get that it's a turning point. We have the Wheel of Fortune, which is karma. It's this cycle moving.
Mm-hmm.
People will be out in droves, the judgment here too. So I think that's actually going to be a big wake up call for even a lot of Republicans
Mm-hmm.
because we're just exhausted and we're going to fight and continue to push through.
Wow.
And the chariot, we're going to be victorious. And it's actually kind of like warlike energy, but between, like the chariot, the Knight of Wands too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I'm not saying like civil war, but it's almost like it's, yeah, we're standing up for what we believe in. We're
Yeah.
done.
It feels like a
And a big
clear,
momentum, a big push.
yeah, yeah, like a high concentration of people, and you can feel their force kind of come out and speak.
And I've heard, I think, some astrologers saying like if, and I think we talked about it when we focus in on Trump for 2026, that there's possible exit points. And that's where I kind of feel like um it's almost like a shift in the what's the word that I want to say? It's like a shift in the energy, like a
Mhm.
conclusion is kind of what I feel like. Like getting
Yeah.
back on the same timeline. Timeline was the word that was coming.
Yeah, the timeline. No, that makes, yeah, I think the astrology is really difficult for him the first part of 2026. And it's basically, can he make it to his birthday? That's kind of like, then he gets a nice blessing
And
from
then
the
this summer
universe.
it's crazy again.
Yeah, July gets crazy, August gets crazy, but the best month for him all year will be his birthday month.
Okay.
So, in terms of exit points, if he exits before his birthday, then we sort of know in terms of, where things are going. And one thing too, because Venus is doing a really cool thing for the No Kings protest,
Hmm.
there's something very social with this. So if you do go out, folks, and protest, there's something about feeling camaraderie. There's something about like talking to people. You
Yeah.
might even see people like handing out cupcakes or like offering free coffee or like, hot chocolate. There seems to be something about, wow, this is like the best part of community.
Mm.
I'm feeling connected to my neighbor. So I do encourage it if you feel safe to do that. And then one other thing, because I'm at Capricorn Moon, is when you do go protest, make sure you turn off your photo recognition.
Yeah.
This is because if you turn on, because what happens, there's a new law that got passed, I think, or a court case, that it's okay for a cop to just put the camera here and unlock it and then access your phone.
Oh,
So when you
really?
do, yeah, when you do protest, just turn off the photo unlock, and then I think you're fine if they try to harass people in any other way. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Very good.
But otherwise, that's March's astrology, Kevin.
I'm looking forward to April's. We'll have you
Yeah.
back on the channel in March.
Yeah. Oh, let me also share with everyone your classes that are coming up.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I have a couple classes going on coming up. I'm teaching a beginner level Holy Fire Level 1 and 2 class, April 4th and 11th. I originally had it on March 28th, and then they announced the No King's Day protest. So we did shift that. So it's back to back Saturdays, which is fine. I think it's a good amount of time to integrate the energy. Um, so April 4th, 11th, teaching my Holy Fire Level 1 and 2 class. It is beginner friendly. I think I have about 4 spots left open for that. You can go on my website to sign up, or Ness has that QR code. And then if you're a level 2 Reiki practitioner for at least 6 months, you have a good amount of experience, feel comfortable giving yourself Reiki treatments, others Reiki at a distance, and you have your level 2 symbols memorized, I'd love to have you join my Holy Fire um, Reiki Master
Mhm.
class. And it's actually um, has world peace energies integrated into it too with this Holy Fire energy. Um, I had filled up a class in April, um, and a lot of my previous students were still interested. So decided to do a second class just because there was interest. So if you have any questions with that, you can email me, check out all the information on my website. And I do have some openings for readings and Reiki sessions going into March. So,
Great, great.
and what do you
Especially
have going on?
there's a lot of fire energy for the second part of 2026. So I imagine your
Okay.
Reiki classes are going to be booked and busy as
Yeah.
you move
Well,
through
and we have fun
2026.
events coming up too, hopefully. So
Yeah, I heard the Gettysburg event got sold out within a month. So that
it was actually, I was feeling like 2 to 3 weeks, and it was like 2.5 weeks on the dot.
wow.
Um, and Mel and I are looking into maybe possibly doing a second one a little bit later if we're able to manage it because we have
Yeah,
a bunch of interest still, but
yeah.
um, we'll make an announcement if we end up doing that.
Yeah, very, very
And
cool.
what
So
do you
yeah,
have going on?
in terms of
Workshops?
what I have going on, I have a class I'm teaching next week. It's the my new moon, full moon manifestation class. So this class is very similar to me. It's a mix of woo-woo world, but also just being, neuroscience and logic. And I teach this manifestation class of not how to incorporate manifestation or the principles of manifestation in a very like scientific method way. How do you just slowly start to fold in? And I'm not asking you to jump in with, both feet and just, commit to it as your ideology, but more creating a separate track in your life and do these experiments and just see what happens. And if it works for you, use it. If it doesn't, you can put it aside.
It can be
But
very validating
yes,
if
yes,
you actually start to use the tools, whether it's Reiki or if you're focusing on manifesting, or I love to use Reiki energy to help manifest.
yeah.
Um, the more and more you do it, and then you actually notice that energy shifting and you're
Yeah.
attracting more positive things. You're like, okay, there's something to this.
Yes, exactly what you described. There's a sense of with this class of doing experiments,
Hmm.
testing it out. Get your data, pool bigger so you get feedback of yes, this is working, this is not. And I think if you can approach it in a very strategic way,
Hmm.
you can start to fold it into your life without being disappointed. A lot of the times people
Yeah,
move into manifestation, they go, well, I wanted a house, but we get those incremental ways of how to relate to it so you can have a more productive and pragmatic relationship. So
for
I
sure.
teach this twice on March 3rd in the morning for East Coast and European folks, and then the evening for West Coast and all Australian, New Zealand folks. So I have room in both. So feel free below in the description, sign up and I can, I will have room for you. This course has very detailed curriculum that you'll receive in terms of how to move through these topics. And there are personalized worksheets you'll receive so you can
Nice.
work with full moon, new moon energy in the future. I also open my March books too for astrology readings. I usually do month to month just to kind of gauge my schedule. And I offer a signature reading about this paradigm shift. This is about the times we're in. And if you're someone experienced big changes in the past year or two, let me use astrology to kind of help explain to you what's happening because it's very benevolent. It's very guided. It's once in multiple thousands of years type of transit,
Hmm.
and it's great to get a sense of what this overall direction you're moving towards in terms of this paradigm shift.
Very cool.
And I also have calendars
Yeah,
available. I have this personalized calendar that Kevin has as
they're
well.
great.
And yeah, it's great to kind of help you with the new moon and full moon energies. It's great to give you the overall vibe of the month. And I'm working on a booster video. Basically, it's an animated film right now, and it's going to explain to you how to work with the calendar as a early person, as a more intermediate person, and start to kind of squeeze as much juice of this fruit as you can so
Hmm.
it can work for you more. So I'm working on that. I have plenty of available for the next batch, which is not February 11th. It's actually March 5th. That's the next batch.
Okay.
But otherwise, that's all I have, Kevin. And thank you again for inviting me to talk about March's energies. And I can't wait to watch the speech tonight and
Oh,
see if we're
have
validated
fun
or
with
not.
that, Ness. I'll watch the news tomorrow. We'll see what comes
Okay,
through.
okay. Well, I can send you a couple highlights too.
Yeah, you could
I'll
text me.
just I'll give you a thumbs up or down if you were right
All
for your
right.
intuition.
Sure without watching it, I'm sure I'll know what's going on kind of
Yeah,
real
you'll
time.
get a
So,
sense of it. Someone will kind of communicate to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say another great thing about your calendars that you offer, Ness, is I think I love that you can focus in on month to month to see what the energy is supporting you with setting those intentions. So if they take your manifestation class and they want to
Yeah.
focus in on energies to attract, and then they know what's the energies are supporting them, it
Yeah.
can really help with set those intentions and working with the manifesting. But
Yeah.
another thing that I really enjoy about them too is you have all the information there. So it's almost like learning through your own chart
Yes.
astrology in a
Yeah.
sense, like
You start
basic.
with you.
Yeah,
You're the student. It's you learn astrology by unpacking yourself and understanding
mm,
your energies, which is the greatest way to
for
start
sure.
astrology.
You can compare it to your life experiences going
Yeah.
on, right?
Yeah, you get feedback right away. You're right. January was a time where I was focused on family, or
Hmm.
February was a time. And so it's a great way to on-ramp to astrology as a whole by using your own experiences month to month. Yeah, I totally agree with that, which is the point. I think that's
Yeah.
why I want people to have the joy of astrology. Oh, this new moon did this and this full moon did this. And
Hmm.
astrology works for you instead of this fantasy story you hear, every so often.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, my friend. I look forward to catching up in March, looking into
Yes.
April.
Yeah.
It's going to be a pretty active couple months. We're still in February. Um, but no, I was kind of feeling when we were like closing around like the No King's Day protests and all of that and going into April, it's almost like getting back on the right timeline. And I think
Mm.
moving past a lot of like the chaos that we've been going through. Feels like we're getting a bit of closure.
Okay, so there's something
How I'm
about we're
viewing it.
now on the right trajectory when we
Mhm.
when we're into April.
Yeah.
Yes, folks, again, yeah, hydrate, pace yourself in March because yeah, when we come back for April's astrology, it will be a wild ride and she has a sense that we're at the end of the call.
Thank you,
Dogs
Ness.
know.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Of
Y'all
course.
take
Bye
good care.
everyone.
We'll see you all next month. All right. Blessings.